Hello and welcome to the final episode of Let's Play Eternal Daughter. I'm Master Goffrin and I'll be guiding you through it. When last we left our heroine, she was faced with the fact that the bulk of the military might of the other races of the world had already entered the dark portal of nightmares to Baphomet's realm. Obviously, therefore, we must join them. Doesn't look like it's going well. This whole area is a large maze which can only be reasonably navigated with the help of Ilanduru. Skittering around inside it are some of the cold ones from the Mazurmura fight, some bats, skeletons, flies, and an all-new terrifying enemy. There's also a handful of static power-ups hiding around, mostly found in dead ends of course. About 1,000 years ago in episode 3 I remember I said something about being able to think of 3 enemies in the game that could deflect hits. Chances are the lobster was one, the armour of Hansel was another, and finally here is the third. The nameless ones have similar masks to the floating armour of the tower, but they have 2 massive bloody cleavers with which to rip you to pieces. After they bunch up, they'll make 3 huge swings, usually in your general direction, and then be hittable for a while before bunching up again. They have a crap ton of health, and since you can just fly over them in almost every scenario, you're better off ignoring them completely. They also can't be interrupted by charge shots, secondary weapons, etc, so you definitely want to keep well clear of them if they start swinging. While flying is sure dap handy for getting around, pretty much the whole maze can be navigated with just the Mojang and the wall jump. Oh, I guess there's some Rimfair in here too, although actually I think that was the only one. Anyway, those enemies were guarding this heart pickup in this dead end corner. However, the blood flies around the map will often move in unexpectedly. This one here is blocking me from flying back out right now. That massive 8 damage punch came courtesy of the nameless one. His second swing caught me with its very tip from quarter of the screen away. With the path cleared, I'm getting out of here, since I know that down this shaft waits his nearly unavoidable brother. You definitely want to either wall jump at the last moment or fly down here, because he can be waiting right in that corner. You can still get past him rather than fight him at all by using the head charge, but it's risky business with the stakes at 8 damage. I can't really give any advice for fighting the nameless one, since they only really present one option, which is to attack them until they coil up and then run away as fast as you can. On top of the power-ups hidden throughout the maze, we can also find some of our allies. Here's Mogrom, looking like he's been on the receiving end of a nameless one. He seems otherwise okay though, and is quite pleased with his exploits. This side shaft is a dead end though, so other than this heart pickup, there's really no reason to come here. If you use the slide to glitch your way past the guard before completing the rest of the game correctly, you pretty much walk in on the conversation with Gideon, and after that you can attempt to make your way through here with whatever tools you've acquired. It's not something I've ever actually tried, but I'm sure managing ammunition to make it through is a fairly key factor, as of course through being some kind of badass. With regards to Mia's being asleep while everyone started the attack, it's not just a cop-out on somehow animating all the others to actually kill things. All the fighting and questing around the world is actually taking its toll on Mia. Back before she ventured to the Free Riders Tower, she said she was getting tired, and that was a good while ago now. However, the Shulan Elder spurred her on, since the World Eater waits for nobody, and somehow she's managed to get to this point. These pits look like ways to go, but you don't want to fall into them unprepared, as cold ones eagerly wait at the bottom to devour you. They tried to play on that bluff a pit too soon here, this pit being the correct path, although there is another slightly longer way through that I'll be taking. It's not too big a deal though, it's only a minor detour. Naturally then, this third pit also contains a cold one. I suppose if you need one, a useful rule of thumb for navigating through here is that if your path is blocked in some way by the golden armor from the tower, then that way is not the right way to go. The maze itself is really quite straightforward to just blitz through once you know the right path. Its main difficulty is bullshit deaths from landing on enemies, as well as slowly getting battered to death. The hole in the ceiling here would be where you drop out if you'd taken the shorter route, and from there you ought to head right, since this lower left area is yet another dead end with a useless pickup. Anyway, I'm afraid that for once I've actually run out of things to talk about, so for once in a while I'll be quiet. Hezoid is hanging out in this side pit with a few of his injured or dead troops, his words driving home the point that really, all the military might of the world can only amount to distraction, and that Mia is the only real hope of defeating Baphomet. The path right guarded by this skeleton is again not the way to go. Much like the second Blue Mountain area, none of the enemies here drop any power-ups either, so fighting any of these extra enemies is entirely pointless and just asking for trouble. If you catch a bloodfly trying to block your path without any backup, you can either hammer it or make use of the head charge, one of the many things we didn't have back in the tower. They're really only dangerous as an added complication to another situation though, such as falling very quickly. One advantage of going to all the pointless dead ends is it triggers them early and makes them much less dangerous. Again, you want to be cautious dropping down this pit, as there can be an enemy right in the corner, though a cold one is not nearly as dangerous as a nameless one. You still really don't want to get caught inside one and stuck in a corner though. This was actually my first attempt through here for the recording, and I was really beginning to worry about my health. I nearly had a panic attack when this bat turned up, but thankfully we're really close to the end now. And that's the brunt of the maze navigated. Here are the steps to the God of Darkness's Golden Temple. Let's see what waits for us inside. That's it, that's the last 1% of the game, putting us at 105%. I think you get a more reasonable percentage if you don't go to either hidden area, save Zorath, or return to see Valul. Also, you probably want to be fully stocked on secondary ammo for this, so I'm going to quickly reload my game to refresh the pickups. Interestingly, moving off the screen to the right here is the point of no return. Even now, you could still go all the way back out if you wanted to. And so it begins. This floating robed figure is Baphomet. I won't play dumb, this is his weak, nearly useless first form. All the more aghast that made me when I jumped right into him. The simplest, most reliable method I came up with for fighting him is to pile charge shots into him while moving side to side. He shouldn't hit you once, in fact if he does, you're better off reloading and trying again. The only reason I didn't was I wasn't actually expecting this to be the attempt that made it into the final video. The only notes I can think to bring up are the symbol again on his stole, and his comment that he defeated Eluriel before adds some mystery to the overall history of the gods. One final thing I'd like to say is that later on, something is displayed for approximately 1 or 2 frames. It doesn't exactly match the other display bugs in the game, and you can normally just about see it as it happens, so the video will slow down just for you when that happens. This is it, the final boss. On either side there are heads which shoot laser balls at you. You can kill the heads, but they'll reappear 20 or 30 seconds later and it's not worth the risk. His attacks include a massive god laser which does 9 damage, which I won't be getting hit by, and you can use it or any of the attacks back to back. You want to either head charge through it or sometimes moving quickly will cancel it. Another way to cancel it is to attack him. In order to do that, you must fly up and strike the gem on his back. This reveals his weak point, but somewhat more importantly, it also prevents him from attacking. And this means no laser. His other two abilities are smacking you with his frontward hand, which is a 6 damage hit, as are the laser bolts, and summoning an incubus, which will slowly home in on you, which only do 4 damage. Baphomet can easily kill you within 7 or 8 seconds of the fight starting, but there are a few rules that you can follow to give yourself a much greater chance of success. Firstly is that the heads alternate in their shots, so always fly up the side that isn't shooting, as this gives you a clear path and a good chance to dodge the next laser ball, although it's still easy to mistime a head charge. Secondly is that you can refresh his vulnerability by sufficiently damaging his gem again, so you always have enough time to eliminate any incubi heading towards you. As a result, there's no excuse to not use a double jump to get 2 hits on him, which is the third rule. For the record, you have to hit his mask around 14 times, although if you rely on the head charge to do damage it will be significantly more, so always use your attack if it's safe to do so. You can use your charge shot to reveal the mask, but I prefer the sigil as it's faster and we have loads of useless ammo anyway. Also, slow laser balls from the other side will always peter out just before they reach you. Anyway, that's it, that's all I can give you because I'm out of time. See you on the other side. And that's the end. I know I can't really relate this to you via the internet, but beating this game, or more specifically Baphomet for the first time, gave me a phenomenal sense of achievement. I can't even really put it into words, but I suppose the only way I can really explain it is it'll be that exact moment that I'm going to spend much of my time playing video games trying to relive, and I don't think I'll ever manage it. At any rate, I'd really like to thank everyone involved in making the game, and everyone who's been watching or will ever watch these videos. I think Eternal Daughter's a gem, held back somewhat by the unfortunate lack of forward compatibility being made an MMF imposed. For me though, its true beauty was in defeating the sheer, somewhat accidental and unintended impossibility, and even then your eventual success is bittersweet. Hopefully I managed to relate some of that experience, but in any case, see you around.